Good evening, everyone, and welcome to day number 148 for our 9 o'clock update tonight. Actually, 9:02, pushing up on 9:03. Had a full day today. Started very early at the doctor. Everything is good. Being a little proactive because heading to Finland and Ukraine here in a few weeks, and you have to make sure that the prescriptions are ready to go because no refilling them over in Ukraine, I promise you. So I was there this morning, told the doc, said, hey, I got to get my scripts ready. I'm heading to Ukraine, and he knows I work there. We're good friends. And he said, where are you going? I said, Ukraine. He said, Greg, are you crazy? I said, no, I'm committed. He loved it. So anyway, all is taken care of. We're healthy and ready to go. So it's going to be good here. This is day 148. Title of the program tonight is The Economic Front Has a Devastating Effect, not only on Ukraine, but the world. The one that's seeming to be affected the least so far is Russia. Gas is flowing through the Nord 1 stream again, and everything's working well there. So what did the foreign minister of Lithuania say? Sanctions don't work, and who cares? But we'll see. So tonight, full update. A couple of hours ago, I was able to speak with Zhenya there at the camp. He was able to get a little bit of coverage. Going to try to get some video out tomorrow. But I can tell you, our refugee camp running until Monday is going fantastic. Secondly, I can also tell you that I almost took some photos just a little while ago or some video to show you, but the preparation for our auction coming up Sunday, 5 to 9 Eastern time, and we are going to live stream it just so you can be a part. We'll mention, we'll show you, and you can pop in, pop out, and you can see what's going to happen. It's going to be pretty amazing, I can tell you. So we'll make sure everybody's a part of that as well. So thank you for being here. Thank you to Jeffrey Burnett. You're doing a great job. Much appreciated, and welcome to you all. All right, well, let's get started tonight with the update. Significant strikes happened today on both sides, and I want to start tonight with the blue stars in the occupied zone. Today, there were 4 major strikes on Russian depots, munition dumps. South of Kherson were 2, one over near Melitopol, and one also struck behind the city of Donetsk. So these were very good. Of course, they're being struck with the longer range weapons that Russia is now being affected by. Some of the Western weapons have arrived, and Ukraine is able to hit some precision targets. So that is good. Now, on the opposite side today, and I can tell you right now, 9:06 p.m. Eastern, 4:06 a.m. in Ukraine, the city of Nikopol is under a massive bombardment right now. And I'll get to that in just a second. But red star at the bottom, kind of pink star, that's the city of Mykolaiv. There today, I want you to see the targets: humanitarian warehouses and city center where it is densely populated. That was the strikes today in Mykolaiv and last night. I think if you remember last night during the program, it may have been Ricochet was saying, hey, Mykolaiv's being hit right now, or it might have been 2 nights ago. Well, I can tell you today they were hit very hard, and just madness on the targets. Humanitarian warehouses and densely populated residential sections. The city of Dnipro, go to the red star in the middle. What was struck today? Downtown Dnipro, educational complex, schools. That was the target. But the problem is Dnipro, very, very large city, and it was hit right in the center of the city. Go to the yellow star now, right in the bottom. That is the city of Nikopol. Remember, we've been showing how that is being struck from the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. Well, it is being struck city center, residential complexes, and the people in Nikopol are being told to go toward Krivoy Rog, which would be northwest, because there's really nothing they can do to stop the onslaught of shelling. Remember, it's only 9 miles across from the power plant to Nikopol. Second, from the right green star, city of Kramatorsk. We had fatalities today in Kramatorsk, where Kramatorsk was struck. Once again, center of the city, and they struck education centers. And finally, of course, up top, back, Kharkiv, constant shelling. The issue now is it's just indiscriminate to a new level. Medical centers, the city center, a market, densely populated, buses, and once again, we had more fatalities today. Just random fatalities, civilians. Actually, I have a couple of still pictures, and then I'll roll into a little video. This was the strike today in Kharkiv. You can see the results of it here. I'm going to roll into a little video now. What I want you to see here is just the location, right in the city. Here's markets in a bus route and bus station. It's just indiscriminate. And many people say, were those bullet holes there? No, that was not bullet holes. That's shrapnel. And stuff just flying through the air. It looks like bullet holes, but it's not. That was from shelling. So that is Kharkiv. Now, I want to go to this one next for tonight. Russia has put a new target up, and that would be a power plant. So we're now kind of zoomed in over here to the east. Kramatorsk, of course, you see there, Bakhmut, and Konstantinovka. Those are the 3 cities in the blue circles. Yes, I have been to all of those cities. And what I really want to show you here is this one. Let me flip here and let's go here. So we have Slavyansk, we have Kramatorsk, and we have Bakhmut. Remember the M3 and the H20. But here's the main target right now. Of course, they're coming towards Siversk still, and they're pushing towards Soledar, and they're pushing toward Bakhmut. But if you look down, and I'm going to zoom in for us, come way down here in this little pocket. Now, when I say way down here, you know, we're 6, 8, 9, 10 miles. It's not way down. Here are the front lines, and I want to show you something. This city right here is called Svitlodarsk. It is completely occupied. It's under Russian control. But this is the city, much like Pripyat, which is the city where workers from a power plant work. And that power plant is a coal-fired plant. Russia right now, and that power plant is located right there. It is under assault. And this power plant is much like the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant, except this one is coal-fired. But it is 3,600 megawatts. And I had to look it up because I was not sure. But some of the largest coal-fueled power plants in the world are in China, and they're about 5,000 megawatts, because I was looking this power plant up, and it was saying that it was one of the larger coal power plants with 3,600 megawatts in the world, and it is. So between Zaporozhye nuclear power plant under Russian control, and now they're pushing towards this large coal power plant, Russia is really going after the power infrastructure, which on their side makes complete sense. Now, with that said, do you see this region here? This is what we call, hold on, let me clear that. This is what we call the Siversk front, because that is the city that is next in line. It's also the Slavyansk and Kramatorsk and Bakhmut area. Russia's making a big push, but I've got good news for everybody tonight. Ukraine is making a big push. Ukraine, I'm going to show you in the next slide, they are reinforcing with fresh troops, rested, loaded, and ready to go. Where are they coming? They're coming to the Donetsk Oblast. I know you don't really know where that's at, but that is all of this area. They're coming in here to reinforce, because if this keeps going, which we're at day 148, if this keeps going, I'm just telling you right now, we've talked about it a month ago. The battle for Kramatorsk and Slavyansk will be massive. It's already under shelling. It's already being fought for. But if it comes to the stage of a ground battle over these cities, I think this would be the place where Ukraine will not back up. We know there came a time. Look back here, folks. Remember when we were talking so much about Severodonetsk, and we were talking about Lysychansk, and we were talking about Zolota. Look how far behind the lines they are now. But there came a time where Ukraine knew that they needed to pull back and reinforce, and they did. They've pulled back. But once this river is crossed, which Seversky Donetsk, and it is being crossed, of course, pushing into Seversk, there's no backup here. Ukraine can't back up here. So we've called that this Slavyansk and Kramatorsk, it will be a mega battle. It will be a battle that is named, and it will be key to the overall war. So good news right now is this: Ukraine is deploying fresh troops into the east, into that pocket I just showed you. 1st Tank Brigade, 68th Yager Brigade, the 71st Yager Brigade, and the 115th Mechanized Brigade. Slavyansk, Donetsk, and Kramatorsk. They are reinforcing in that area. So we shall see. Hopefully we never get to that point of that level of a battle, but this is where we're at, and this is what we're looking at. So Ukraine is reinforcing. It just shows there's a battle coming. There is a battle coming for Slavyansk and Kramatorsk, and we will be watching. And unfortunately, that one's going to be tough. I've spent a lot of time in Kramatorsk, and I have a lot of friends in Kramatorsk, like precious people. And that one, it's coming. I know it's coming unless this is stopped. Today, Russia, out of the Kremlin, through RIA Novosti. That is the name up at the top. I know it looks to you like a P, a backwards N, and an A, but in the Russian language, that is RIA, R-E-A, RIA. And then the next word, you see an H, an O, a B, an O, a C, a T, and a backwards N. H is an N, O is a O, V, B is in boy, is V is in Victor, and C is an S. And the backwards N's an E. So the word is Novosti. What does that sound like? News. This is RIA News. They were reporting for the Kremlin today, and there was a direct threat made from Tiraspol, meaning the occupied area, we know, where there are at least 1,500 Russian troops stationed. Today, directly, there was a threat made against Moldova proper, and specifically the capital city of Kishinev. I have been in Kishinev a dozen times. It is a big city. It's a beautiful city. There are wonderful people in Moldova. They do not want to fight wars. They are peaceful. They are very artistic, creative, caring, wonderful people. Moldova is a very poor nation. It is a nation that looks much like the Napa Valley out in California, with rolling hills, and it's absolutely gorgeous. But it's peaceful and kind people. A lot of Romanian influence, a lot of Gypsy influence, a lot of Soviet influence, Ukrainian influence, and Kishinev is the biggest city. Other than that, there's not many big cities. There's Beltsy, and then Tiraspol, which is actually in the Transnistria. So that threat has now popped up, which we've already talked about, but today it was official. Iranian drones are coming to Russia. You're hearing it now. You're hearing it here. It's going to happen. Iran come out a couple of days ago and says, we're going to maybe make a deal with Russian supply drones. And then over the last 48 hours, we haven't really decided and agreed on what exactly we're going to do. Well, today, the Iranian government came out and said, listen, we will happily supply drones to friendly nations of ours. I think pretty much it was 2 days ago that Putin and Ibrahim Raisi and Erdogan were meeting. And if you remember the video I showed you, it was Raisi who was holding up the hands of Putin and Putin and Erdogan. I think they're friends. Iranian drones, they're coming to a battlefront near you. You can put that in the bank. But with that said, UK stepped up. They're countering with artillery and drones. This is directly from Ben Wallace, their defense minister. Remember, we thought he would be maybe running for prime minister, kind of hoping it. And then others were saying, even some in the chat watching the streams are saying, I'm kind of glad he's staying defense secretary. Well, when you see things like this, I am too. More than 20 M109 155 millimeter self-propelled, 36 L119 105 millimeter artillery, and hundreds. That was the number reported. Nothing specific, but hundreds. That means more than 200 in my understanding of drones will soon arrive in Ukraine. What was the timeline? Not November. 2 weeks. Get them there, Britain. Ben Wallace announced that in an update today to Isagani King. Good evening, buddy. When you're watching from Alabay, Philippines, you always get a hello. So this is coming, and so we're very thankful. UK stepping up and putting timelines on it, putting constraints, telling, of course, the world, Ukraine, but specifically telling Russia is what they're doing. What is coming? What is coming? And it's not November. It's 2 weeks. So we're thankful to that. Now, potential grain agreement signing tomorrow in Istanbul. That's all I'm going to say on that today, because I'm going to wait for it to be signed and then we can kind of look at it. But I was studying on some stuff this afternoon in regard to this grain agreement. There are a couple of things we have to remember. A, there has been some agreement on grain exports. But B, it has not yet been signed. So tomorrow in Istanbul, Turkey is the day for the signing. Great. I hope it's signed and we make some progress on getting some food out to the world, because I'm going to show you a problem here in a moment with this economic front that I'm talking about in the program tonight. But even signed, you have to go a step further. How many times during these 148 days have people stated things like this? I guess the Minsk agreement is worthless. Any other agreement is worthless because Russia is not abiding by what they agreed to. So therefore, even with the grain agreement signed, the next step will be, do we see the follow through? So that's what we're going to be watching. So step one, they've met. Step two, tomorrow, a signing. But we're not going to rejoice yet. We're going to rejoice a little bit because the world, specifically Eastern Africa, needs food now. They need grain yesterday. And I'm going to show you that in a moment. But once we see it moving in an agreed upon way, not just stolen and heading to Syria or Egypt, then we'll be a little happier about it. Now, Ukrainian economics. I did call Ukraine today. I'm going to explain this to you guys. And I've studied it all day, and I called Ukraine and I said, okay, tonight I'm going to share this. This is actually the main point of the program, and make sure I'm spot on. And I was talking to the guys there, and they said, yeah, you're spot on. You know how this works. I said, yeah. I said, but sharing, and lots of people watch this now, and I try to be as accurate as possible. Let me explain to you what happened. Last night at 9 p.m., approximately, the exchange rate, in fact, what I'm going to do, let me do it this way. Let me show you what you have here. You have a typical exchange rate sign. That sign right there is actually a photo taken from Kyiv today, where the word on the top left is kupila and the word on the top right is prodaj. So buy and sell. You're purchasing grivna, or you're purchasing dollars or euros. Of course, the third one is rubles, and they don't do that anymore. And then the bottom one is British pounds. So that is the exchange rate. And I'm going to break this down and make it so simple, because we just need to understand it. Basically, when people went to bed last night, 1 grivna was worth $1 was worth 29 grivna. In fact, let me just show you this here. Let's do it this way. This will be easier, because I have to think when I'm writing. Let's go here. So when people went to bed last night, $1 equaled 29, and the Ukrainian currency is called grivna. But of course, it starts with an H. That's it. This morning, Ukraine's National Bank, Economic Center, much like it would be the Fed and our government here, decided that they had to change the exchange rate by 25%. They had to devalue the Ukrainian currency. Now, what that means is people, and I'm going to make it really simple. Last night, people went to bed in Ukraine, and 29 grivna equaled $1. This morning, when they woke up, $1 equaled 37 grivna. And I know it may be hard to think about, but I'm going to make it so simple. In fact, most of the economists there in Kyiv said by fall and winter, we're potentially looking at 50 grivna per dollar. And I know you say, well, man, that is awesome. Well, it's awesome if you have a dollar, but it's not good if you operate in grivna. And who operates in grivna? Ukrainian citizens. Why did they do this? Because they're trying to increase the economic flow without printing more money, like America's professional at, by generating more income versus the dollar. Now, Ukrainian economy is not pegged to the dollar. It's not pegged to the euro. It's not pegged to any foreign currency. It floats on its own. But without being pegged, it is extremely directly tied to the US dollar. And the reason they did this was because of the US dollar. If you noticed, US dollar and euro paired up and came to par for the first time in 20 years a few days ago. They're very close in value. It's killing Ukraine. So people this morning woke up to an instant 3% inflation. So this is why in Ukraine, this is why I'm telling you that that economic front has a devastating effect. Now, let me make it a little simpler. Okay, PG, I got it. Now explain that to me just one more level. Okay, here you go. If a loaf of bread costs $1 in Ukraine, yesterday it cost 29 grivna. That same loaf of bread today cost $1, but it cost the Ukrainians 37 grivna. Now, their salary is paid in grivna. They did not get a raise to offset this. So the value of their currency went down significantly over the last 24 hours. Now, with that said, and Zhenya and some other guys I was talking to today, we discussed this. For our humanitarian aid efforts, of which now we are over $125,000 we've raised together, working all together, and we've got this auction coming up. Oh, this is getting good. Thank you and praise God. Thank Bethel Life, our home church, Pastor Kent, Ms. Luann, all of our administrators. Every penny plus goes to Ukraine. So thank you. And if you're new here, you're watching, you can donate. It's all 501c3 to NGOs, BOWC.org. Now, commercial over. With that said, this helps us. And Zhenya and I specifically were talking about, I said, Jacob, this is horrible for Ukrainians. He goes, listen, for the citizens, it's bad. For somebody getting up and going to their job and they're getting the same amount of grivnas, their salary didn't go up, it will be more difficult. Everything's going to be more expensive, but their income is not going to go up. He said, but, Greg, this is going to help us with the humanitarian aid, because when we're funneling money into Ukraine, it's U.S. dollars. Now our U.S. dollars will purchase more grivna when we have to work in grivna, and not everything has went up in price. So we actually have a little bit more buying power, 25% more buying power using the USD. So there's your economic front for the Ukrainian citizens. I hope I tried to break it down where everybody could understand. Yeah, 37. Thanks, JDO. I knew the Invest Answers guys would get me on the numbers. Yes, I just used 25. You can't get around these nerds, man. Thank you. 37%, even worse. And let me tell you what's terrible. You see the exchange rate there in the occupied regions, and I should have put the picture up. They're already working at about a 50 grivna to $1 exchange rate. It's ugly. And that's because they're trying to push the citizens there to get rid of their grivna and work only in the ruble. The ruble exchange rate's normal, but they're taking advantage of the Ukrainian exchange rate. So that is the economic front, and that is the problem. Now, back to the economic front and this economy and this global war, of which ties into all the biblical things and everything that I've been hammering on for years now. I believe we're at a significant time in history where biblical prophecies are coming together and we're seeing world events come together and coincide. It's absolutely obvious. With that said, the economies, the grain, the food is a major problem. Here, I have a map of East Africa. And if you look in the middle nation there, Tanzania, we do lots of work in Tanzania. We're in and out of Tanzania all the time. We know Tanzania very well, but I want to focus on three nations above that: Kenya, Somalia, and Ethiopia. Now, to the left, in red, you see South Sudan, which is desperately poor. We have missionaries there. Gregory McClurkin, phenomenal missionary. We know what's happening in South Sudan. We work in Tanzania. We have major work in Tanzania. Mozambique, south of Tanzania, is a devastated, economically depressed. In fact, my buddy Barings Mambia will tell us from Tanzania that Mozambique, they're poor. We're not poor. And they're poor. It's terrible. I don't want to focus on any of those nations. I want to look at the black triangle shape there, whatever shape that is. Ethiopia, Kenya, and Somalia. 70% of the worst hunger in the world. This was released today by rescue.org, who works monitoring all of this, and it was actually McFall that released this data and says, pay attention to this. This is directly connected to Ukraine and Russia. 70% of the worst hunger in the world is found in Ethiopia, Somalia, and Kenya. 2% of the global population is in Kenya, Somalia, and Ethiopia. Very densely populated. 90% of the grain imports that feed Kenya, Ethiopia, and Somalia come from Ukraine and Russia. So, in a nutshell, you see it. We see the devaluation of currency. We see Ukraine. It's going to be very tough on Ukrainian citizens. And now you can look at an example like this and see outside of the box. It's easy for us to look at the grain and say, okay, I get it. Grain's not moving, but we don't really understand it, because if you're here in America or in other nations, you just go to your store and you buy your bread and you buy your food. It may be more expensive. It may cost you more gas to get there, but your shelves are basically full. Well, here's a real life example for you. East Africa, densely populated. Ethiopia, Kenya, Somalia. 90% of their grain imports come from Ukraine and Russia. They're not getting them. It is devastating for these nations here. Now, finally, I want to introduce you tonight to a guy named Alexei Goncharenko. He is from Odessa. He is mid-40s. He is a member of the Ukrainian parliament. This is a very, very smart guy, a very gifted diplomat. This guy's probably going to go to Kyiv, next level politics, but he's a good guy. He's not only a member of the Ukrainian parliament, but he was selected as a member of the Ukrainian delegation to the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe. I mean, in a nutshell, he represents Ukraine to the Council of Europe. He is also the vice president of the PACE Committee on Migration, Refugees, and Internally Displaced Persons for Ukraine. Very important guy. He was speaking at the Council of Europe, and he was given his allotted time to speak. And instead of talking about the war, instead of talking about the situations that are obvious and repeating the same calls for weapons and funds and solidarity and working together, he says, I'm actually going to tell a little girl story. And tonight, you get to hear it yourself. The guy speaks actually pretty good English. These are very smart people.
I want to give you testimony, not of myself, but of this girl. Her name is Sophia. She's 14 years old. And you can see what Russians did with her. And I just want to read what she said. I'm Sophia, and I am a small Ukrainian girl. I lost my hand, my mother, and my beloved cat in Bucha. I am one of the almost 1,000 children who have suffered at the hands of occupants. I lived in the hospital for 3 months, and I am still tormented by phantom pains. Now I am in Rome, but I shudder at every sound, and I am afraid of airplanes. When I am worried, I am not just my non-existent hand that hurts. It hurts my whole body. I did horse riding in a past life, but I don't know if I can do it again with one arm. I need a prosthesis. When I wear it, the phantom pains will subside, and I will even be able to dress myself. And I have today this toy, one of her favorite toys, this horse. And I want to ask you how it could be in 21st century such things happen to children, to our children, and what should we do to stop it?
So there you can see, it's just, that's the human story. And I appreciate that today. That was sent to me. That's Goncharenko out of Odessa and Kyiv. And he says, listen, I'm going to take my time for my speech, but I'm going to tell you this little girl's story. And, much. Much love to Alexi for doing that. It's powerful. So, folks, there you have it. I am very happy that you were here tonight. You are fully updated. I will check. Let me check real quick before we hop off. Yeah, they're just talking about the economy right now. I can actually see their live news as well. So that's all good. Everything I told you, and we're up to date. So, economy. You know, I know it's tough wherever you're at. It's tough around the world right now, but you didn't wake up this morning, and as JDO, he got me, 37% increase. It's tough. That's tough. So, that's where we're at. Be blessed. Thank you. 23 hours, we'll have the next update. Tomorrow we should get some update on the grain, and I'll keep giving you guys information and previews of the auction. Going to be really cool, leaving to pop in and watch a little bit of it. So be blessed. Peace to you. Peace to Ukraine. We'll see you in 23 hours. Good night.